Hi, welcome to Minerva. I'm Vera and on my channel we talk about everything disability related. This week I wanted to talk about my wheelchair. Actually, I had originally wanted to talk about Judy Human, but to be honest with you, I just needed more time. Partly because of life, but also partly because it is hard to overstate her importance in the American disability rights movement. Every single thing that happened in that movement, she was there. So to do that justice, I needed another week or so to fully research her. If you would like to hear more about her life and her activism, then make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Instead, I thought that we could participate in the wheelchair tag by Jem from Wheels No Heels here on YouTube. I know I'm a bit late. The video went live on the 4th of June, but better late than never. I wanted to participate for 3 reasons. I'll take any excuse to talk about my wheelchair because she's amazing. 2, because I wish that I had seen this video when choosing my wheelchair because I made mistakes. 3, because we have been talking about some really heavy topics on this channel recently, which I will link in the right corner of the screen. And I just really needed a bit of a break from that. Although Judy Human was amazing, and she really was amazing, the treatment she and the other people in the disability rights movement received really made my blood boil. So this video is partly a response to Jen and also partly some advice on how to choose your wheelchair. I have to say I am in no means an expert. I've only chosen one wheelchair, but because I've only chosen one wheelchair, I've made mistakes. So let's get into it. Ta-da! This is my wheelchair. She's called the Beast because she is a beast. The wheelchair is bright purple with a black pillow, a black backrest, and black wheels with a silver pushring. She's very square and imposing, which is why I call her the Beast. I have the questions from Jem on my laptop, which is right in front of me. So if I don't look in the camera, that's why. Also, by the way, before I forget, I am wearing a white top which has Bruce Springsteen on it. I am sat in front of a white wall with some artwork on it and my wheelchair is to the right of me. Let's get into the first question. Why do you use a wheelchair? I use a wheelchair because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder. It gives me widespread chronic pain throughout my entire body, and it makes it so that I dislocate and subluxate my joints really easily. At the moment, I can stand for about 5 to 10 minutes before being in severe pain and raising the risk of dislocations and subluxations. Am I a part-time or full-time user? So I'm an ambulant wheelchair user, which means that I can get up and walk, but I do use my wheelchair pretty much full-time. Every time I go outside, I use my wheelchair, except for going to the doctor's office, because we all know how difficult it is to get our doctors to take women seriously. I don't use my wheelchair in the house because my house is not really accessible. Instead, I use things like a bar stool with wheels to cook. By the way, let me know in the comments if you would like to see a video on how to make your house more accessible. Number 3. What's the make and model of your wheelchair? My wheelchair is a Myra Nano. It's a rigid frame active wheelchair. It was important to me to have a rigid frame wheelchair because they're slightly easier to push and they take slightly less energy, which means that I can use it for longer. It's a rigid frame, so the frame doesn't fold. The backrest does fold though. We were told that we could put this wheelchair in a car seat like a person, but we can't really do that because of the electric wheels. The wheelchair has an extra bar on the back, which is here. That does make driving a car a little bit more interesting, but thankfully we almost never drive a car anyway. Do you just have one wheelchair? Yes, as this is my first chair. In the future, when and if I need to get another chair, I would like to keep this one as a backup. Although I'm not sure if I'm going to be allowed to because the health insurance paid for this chair, so it's technically still their property. Is it electric or manual? So the wheelchair I have is manual. It was really important for me to have a manual wheelchair because they are slightly more movable and they certainly are lighter. I live in Berlin, and whilst it's not terribly inaccessible. I definitely do need to get up a curb, or I need to be able to do a wheelie to get in the train. And that is really difficult to do with an electric wheelchair. We also live on the 3rd floor, so my partner needed to be able to carry the wheelchair up and down the stairs, which I don't think he would have been able to with an electric wheelchair because those things are heavy. I would not be able to use a regular manual wheelchair without dislocating or subluxating anything though, so I have electric wheels. They are from eMove and they essentially work like an electric bike. I push them and the wheels match the strength of my push, and they take it further, so it's much easier to push for much longer. The battery of the wheels have a radius of about 20 kilometers on one charge, and they do come with a massive battery specific charger. This is the battery, and as you can see, it's pretty heavy. What cushion do you use and why? I use this cushion. It's the J cushion from Sunrise Medical, and it's an anti-sore cushion, which I really do recommend because it gets pretty painful sitting in the wheelchair an entire day. This is a question I added, but what do you love about your cushion and your wheelchair, and what do you dislike about it? So I really love the color of my wheelchair. It's such a vibrantly purple, and that's actually the first thing people comment on when they see me. I also love the position of my feet compared to my body. As you can tell, the feet rest of the wheelchair is directly underneath the chair, which is very comfortable to sit on. And it also makes it so that you don't need a lot of space to turn, which is always handy. The cushion is super comfortable. I also love we call them training wheels, but that's not actually what they're called. But you can maybe see here the little thing, and they prevent me from falling backwards when I do a wheelie. And then I also love the little kick bar on the right of the wheelchair. And this makes it so that someone else can help me do a wheelie when I need to get in the train or whatever. I also really enjoy having the adjustable handlebars because it means that someone can push me when I need a bit of help without hurting their backs. So the things I don't like though, there are a couple. The backrest is too high. This is something that I couldn't have noticed when I went for a fitting, again because of the winter coat. But because the backrest is too high, I keep bending into it when I propel myself. This is the reason why my arms are perpetually bruised. This could easily be changed by having the backrest just a little bit lower. I also wish that the seat was angled more. As you can see, the seat is pretty much straight, so about a 90-degree angle with the backrest, and that just is a bit uncomfortable. I do get quite a bit of lower back pain when I use the wheelchair for a longer amount of time, and I think that this would have been mitigated by having a steeper angle in the wheelchair. So these are all things that I didn't really know about when I went for a fitting for my wheelchair, and they weren't really explained to me either, but they are important things to pay attention to. I got fitted by someone who doesn't use a wheelchair themselves, and I think if I had been fitted by someone who used a wheelchair, they would have probably explained this to me and the result would have just been a bit better. So that is my piece of advice. If you can possibly be fitted by someone who uses a wheelchair themselves, then do that. The last thing I don't like is purely cosmetic. As you maybe see, in between the left wheel and the seat, there is a probe coming out with a bright green light when the wheels are on. It's extremely bright and it doesn't physically bother me or anything. I don't really bump into it when I use my wheelchair, but I do notice people staring at the green light a lot. I have no idea why it's there in the first place. I think this is a prime example of things being made for people who use wheelchairs, but not by people who use wheelchairs. And I think they kind of underestimated how much you get stared at when you use a wheelchair anyway. And because I see these people stare at my green lights all the time, it just makes me feel self-conscious. And I don't think that your mobility aid should make you feel self-conscious. What's your favorite or most useful skill that you have learned? Definitely doing wheelies. It's the only way to get up a curb, get into some doors, go into the trains or trams or whatever. This is one skill that you must know when you use a wheelchair. feel trick do you wish you could but can't? I know that it's possible to go down the stairs in the wheelchair by yourself, and I really wish I could do that because it seems so useful, but I'm just too scared. What's your dream wheelchair and why? This one, but fitted better for all the reasons I explained before. What's the best thing about being in a wheelchair? Honestly, having a seat everywhere you go. Also, not being in pain and being mobile is pretty good too. What's the worst thing about being in a wheelchair? Inaccessibility, being stared at, and the prejudice of people. Mostly the fact that some people ignore you in favor of talking to the person you're with. What is your dream wheelchair accessory? The Albert Dream Motion wheels. These are the electric wheels that I had originally wanted, and they don't come with the light probe. But I was told by the company that I bought my wheelchair at that they didn't have a contract with them, so I couldn't possibly get them. But I wish I'd shopped around for a little bit, because I have seen people use these wheelchairs in Berlin, so it must be possible to get them. What's the weirdest, stupidest question you have been asked being a wheelchair user? Not necessarily because I use a wheelchair, but after I told someone that I couldn't get up this very small, steep staircase, they told my partner that they were sure that I could actually manage with a bit of encouragement from my partner. So yes, people, that's the reason I'm disabled. It's not because of my faulty genes, it's just because my wonderful partner doesn't encourage me enough. Well, I guess at least she didn't call me lazy. What advice would you give someone choosing a new wheelchair? Take your time. Do your research, watch videos like this on YouTube. I know Wheels No Heels has a video on how to choose a wheelchair. Think about what you need a wheelchair for. A foldable wheelchair might be a bit harder to push, but it is easier to transport in a car. So if you need to drive a lot, that might be the better option. Try out multiple wheelchairs, although I do acknowledge that that might be a bit difficult, depending on accessibility of stores, or if you have multiple stores near you in the first place. If possible, get fitted by someone who uses a wheelchair too. Think about the width of your wheelchair. A wider wheelchair means that it's less likely to fit through a door. Don't wear thick winter coats to your fit-in unless you always wear thick winter coats. And lastly, although looks aren't everything, they are important. Having a mobility aid that you like the look of makes you feel happy when you use them, and it gives you confidence. Therefore, you are more likely to use them when you need them. People are going to stare at you when you use a wheelchair anyway, and you'll feel so much better knowing that you look good and knowing that you look the way you wanted to. You deserve to feel good and look good, just like anyone else. That was it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it will be useful for you as well. I will see you next week. Bye!